I run Blippar for India, and we have been set up for the last 6 months here. We are Blippar for the uninitiated is the largest AR platform in the world. We have about 50 million plus users globally. We are almost on 2 billion packs. We have 50 million blippable pages. Today's interaction was pretty much around introducing Blippar to the audience, and also we are in a segment where how social and entertainment mobility is driving new form of content consumption. So the challenge for us was to showcase how a technology like Blippar can help to create transformation in existing print consumption. And what we have done so far, and one of our most successful case studies, was how do you help young children to drive or to get more stickiness from a content genre like comics. Tinkle is one of the most oldest and revered comic book publishers in India. Unfortunately, over a period of last 5 years, or period of last 10 years, since digital has grown, or digital has started growing with proliferation of smartphones and mobile devices, there has been a gradual weaning away of readership from traditional media onto digital. So we thought that the best way to address both the challenges of sticking to giving users the digital content as well as getting them to stick to the habit of reading was to integrate Blippar with a print media platform, which allows us to build a unique interactivity which was never seen before in India. And that was pretty much the case study that we wanted to showcase here at this event. We have got an amazing result from what Tinkle and Blippar did together, simply because the genre of gaming and the genre of comics is a very difficult genre to crack, because it appeals to kids who are between 8 to 12 years old, and they are somebody who are very, very impulsive, very low attention span time. So to get these guys to come experience the technology, experience the magazine was a huge challenge. So the idea is to co-create content which was simple and intuitive, to ensure that they not only consume content in a different way that they have not done before, but to excite them to go and buy the books off the shelf. Because it was not only a new form of content consumption, but Tinkle came in completely different avatar, right, which was an interactive comic book. Aside to that, Blippar has been trying to drive behavior of on air, which very few companies have not done, or they have, especially in Indian market, they have actually commoditized the platform. So our basic vision is to create a blippable world, is through visual search, and our global positioning from what we have been moving away from image recognition. We wanted to move to object recognition, where you can make the world interactive simply by looking at it, right? So right from making an interactive apple to an interactive banana, but again we are scratching the surface. We are investing in our time, effort in bringing this new thought process forward, which means that creating a blippable world is a huge challenging task. Creating a visual search is a huge challenging task, but the idea is that somebody's got to do it, and we believe that we have got the right skill set, right product, and right technology to get it going. So in a nutshell, this is what we wanted to kind of introduce Blippar, introduce visual browsing, introduce the concept of visual search, and also let users know how technology and smart content can come together to create magic for the audience. I think markets like India will always be a scale market, but it's very important for any platform to achieve its vision. I think it's very, very critical to achieve that critical mass, and I think critical mass will be achieved only by scale and volume. India is a mobile-first market, but India is a very typical, different market to any other mobile-first markets globally, because of the kind of audience you have, the kind of markets you have, the challenges of content, the challenges of localization, the challenges of bandwidth, the challenges of different kind of device proliferation, of local handset. The unstructured mobile market is almost 30% of the overall smartphone market in India today. So those remains the fundamental challenges of the market as we speak of. But I'm not a naysayer, because end of the day, India has been driving a lot of the right numbers. Mobile drives. India is one of the probably largest online video consumption market in the world, and mobile drives 40% of that. So we are already seeing a growing behavior of people consuming content and dynamic content on mobile, which actually belies the thought that 2G is a driving force. Yes, it is, but the core consumers are actually migrating from 2G to 3G today, right? Where do we sit? From a business point of view, is get as many people blipping, right? But that also means that we have to start localizing a little bit more. Our content needs to be addressable to a larger breadth and width of audience. So somebody who is blipping in Kerala can also blip in Kashmir. Different local cultural hues. But again, the fundamental philosophy that we have followed is we believe that audience will always be a challenge, right? We don't want to ride a existing wave. What we're trying to do is, we know that there is unlike global markets and unlike markets in China, where proliferation of digital has happened at the expense of traditional media. In India, traditional media still rules the roost as far as advertising and marketing is concerned. Digital, from an absolute spends perspective, is very, very minimalistic. It is growing at an absolute number, right? But on that base as well, when you talk about augmented reality, or you talk about virtual reality, you talk about image recognition, idea is fundamentally, if you want to move the cheese in digital with AR, with Blippar, right, you need to create ideas which are relevant to the audience. You need to create ideas which are not force-fit in a consumer marketing channel, right? You need to create opportunities for brands and publishers to understand the value of their idea, of where AR could fit in. That's very critical, because often we have seen new technologies have come without having a sound business model in play, right? And what has happened in India so far in AR is, if you're trying to drive a behavior, right, you just cannot tell people, open an app, download it, scan a video and go away. I don't think it's relevant. Relevance is very key. Idea is extremely important. And if you mix relevance, idea, and great analytics behind it, right, I think these three pieces need to come together. But again, these three pieces cannot be a force fit for a brand. We are not selling technology here. We are trying to create an opportunity for consumers to experience the brand in a different way. And as I said, we say that great innovations that has happened globally, right, needs to be backed by a very sound business model, right? Google search was a very innovative platform, but until and unless they created AdWords, right, it was not relevant at all. So the point is, if you really see the mix of where India is today and where China is, or where Japan is, right, the stark difference is the diversity of audiences, the topping of mobile audiences as pretty much, in terms of absolute numbers, the penetration of digital audience is very, very small, right? You're talking of 150 mobile digital audiences versus 100, 200, 300 million television households. So television print is still the king here. But the idea is, for a platform like us, we need to be a sensible, relevant bridge between the traditional world and the digital world. And we have always pushed the positioning that your product is your biggest media channel, right? And when people start consuming that product at the end of the day, and if you can offer them relevant content, then they will go back and share that content on a digital platform. That sharing of that content is far more valuable than targeting somebody with a Facebook ad or with a Twitter, with the promoted tweets. So we want to be a sensible player. We want to grow up like any other business in India. We want to use India as a scale. We want to grow on numbers, because in absolute numbers, though, India's numbers in context to the audience that we have is very, very small. But if you compare the small number to the number in the US, it's pretty much comparable to the digital audiences. The only difference is the audience behavior, the audience segmentation, is the device proliferation, network usage, bandwidth is still remains a big challenge. But we understand that. But we have two clear-cut positioning. We want to make the world blippable. We want people to interact with the products by just looking at it. I want to enable that, and we want to drive India as a scale and volume market.